Hello there friends and welcome for another very fun BG3 guide. We have all about the best feats. While there aren't that many feats to choose from, some of them can be quite helpful and build changers even, especially when it comes to enhancing damage. So let's give it a go, shall we? First with the main mechanics behind feats. Sadly, feats are in somewhat of a tough spot in 5th edition D&D, so BG3. First, you have way less than in Pathfinder or 3rd edition, right? You only get a feat every 4 levels, and because the cap in BG3 is level 12, that's 3 max feats only. And don't forget that unlike Pathfinder and 3rd edition, feats are not gained at total character level, rather at class levels only. For example, my character here is a level 4 druid. If I were level 4 in any other class, I would also get a feat. Let's say I'm now level 8 druid, I would also get a second feat. However, if I was to multi-class at level 8 in another class, any other, notice that I'll not be able to select a new feat at all, because once again it's per 4 individual class levels. Lastly, on every 4 levels you have to choose between picking either a feat or improving any ability score, for example 2 charisma or 1 charisma and 1 wisdom. Because most builds will want to max out their most important ability scores, such as strength for a fighter or wisdom for a cleric and druid, the max being 20, at least as far as level up, chances are you won't really get to pick 3 feats, right? Because at the very least one of your feats will be spent in ability scores. Thankfully, in Baldur's Gate 3, you can get a power up as early as Act 1 by defeating the Hag boss at the swamp area that increases any of your stats by a +1, you get to choose. What this means is at level 4, by increasing the same score by +2 together with the power up and starting with 17 at character creation, it will already become a 20, the max. Anyways, now that we know how the feat mechanics work, let's finally get into the best ones. Well, we might as well go by the order they're displayed here. First with Alert. Its main purpose is to increase your initiative by a massive +5, together with preventing you from being surprised. Because enemies in BG3 only roll a 1d4 for initiative, the same as your characters, the higher static bonuses to initiative you have, well, the better and the higher the chances of you acting before the enemy for a very nice alpha strike. And this is one of those feats that I would only really bother getting if, and only if, you truly had the space for it, right? I mean, if you didn't really need anything else. Second, we have Athlete. You get to increase either your strength or dexterity by +1, some of the feats are like this. It's never by +2, however, only through ability improvement can you get that. And the most important benefit is increasing your jump distance by a huge amount, 50%. In case you didn't know, jumping, especially when combined with high strength characters in BG3, is a way to basically not teleport, right, but you'll dash through the battlefield with ease. You can really close in the distance between yourself and the enemy. But once again, it's the type of feat I would only bother if you truly had the space for it. Now we have Elemental Adept. Your spells will ignore resistance to a damage type of source, usually fire, right? Most of the best damage spells in the game are fire for both area and single target damage, with a few exceptions. And fire also tends to be the element most commonly resisted by enemies. Second, you can never roll a 1 when casting spells of the type you choose, which can also help increase damage a bit, at least on an average. Is it needed? Well, I personally wouldn't bother with it, because even if the enemy is, let's say, immune to fire, some are, but not many, you can just use other backup spells, right? It's not like your casters are stuck specializing into only one elemental type. Now we have at last one of the ultimate feats in the game, Great Weapon Master, which is the best feat for pretty much almost any melee character that wields weapons. First, whenever you land a critical hit or kill a target with your melee weapon, you'll get to make another melee attack as a bonus action, dealing full damage, which by itself is already amazing, right? The more attacks you get, the better. Second, and this is the most powerful effect, attacks with heavy melee weapons you are proficient with will deal an additional +10 extra static damage on hit. That's on every single attack, and trust me, +10 in a game like BG3 is a huge amount. The major downside is your attacks will also come with a huge -5 penalty to hit, which might seem scary at first, especially on Tactician Mode where enemies have higher AC, but trust me, there are so many different ways of overcoming this. You can get advantage on your attacks through a number of different sources that I'll soon explain in an upcoming guide on how to max your to-hit chances. Not counting debuffs on the enemy, right? Such as reducing their AC or buffing your characters to increase to-hit chance. Trust me, it is definitely a worthwhile feat investment. Plus, you can always toggle it on and off at will, right? So it's not like you're stuck taking the massive penalty. Luck can be quite useful, as it's quite a versatile feat. Your character will gain 3 luck points, which are recharged on a long rest, and there's multiple ways you can benefit from them. First, you can use the luck points to gain advantage on your next ability check. You can use the luck points to gain advantage on your next ability check, on your next attack roll or saving throw, and even to make enemies reroll their attack rolls, which of course reduces the chances of them hitting you. And the best part is you can actually spam these 3 luck points one after the other, right? They aren't limited to once per turn or anything like that. But of course you'll also run out of them fast if you do so. Now, before getting to another great feat, just a note on Polearm Master. With this, you can get a bonus attack after striking with one of the weapons typed here. The only issue I have with this feat is that most characters are limited to just one bonus action, and well, remember that the Great Weapon Master feat will already let you attack as a bonus action with a melee weapon anyways. Overall, I don't really see much of a point to this feat, unless, for example, you are multiclassing with, let's say, the Thief Rogue, which provides extra bonus actions and so on. I'd rather use bonus actions for dual wielding. Resilient can be quite the handy feat, especially if you are a spellcaster, right? You get to increase one ability score by +1, and depending on the type you choose, you'll also acquire proficiency in the same saving throws. For example, Clerics already have proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma saving throws. So my Shadowheart here at level 4 has +2 to her Wisdom saves by virtue of having proficiency in it, culminating in +4 eventually. The best use to this is picking Constitution, especially for Warlocks and Wizards, because Constitution saving throws are directly tied to the concentration mechanic. Whenever enemies attack you and you are concentrating on a spell, even if they deal just 1 damage, you have to make a concentration check not to lose the spell effect, which is very annoying, right? Sorcerers already come with proficiency in Constitution, so they don't need this, but for the other classes I mentioned, this can really help you keep your spells going. Together with, well, the corresponding hit point increase, right, by let's say starting with 15 Constitution. Now we have another ultimate feat, just like Great Weapon Master for melee, Sharpshooter is the best one for ranged characters. The effects are almost the same, except you don't get a bonus attack. Instead, your ranged weapon attacks will not receive penalties from high ground rules, but the rest is the same, right? A huge +10 static extra damage added to all attacks, together with a -5 penalty to attack rolls. I'd say it can even be better in a way than Great Weapon Master, because you can dual wield ranged weapons, right? Most importantly, the hand crossbow. And well, the more attacks you have, the better, right? Because you then get +10 to even more hits. Combine this with, for example, a Swords Bard, and let's say you turn enemies into porcupines before they can do anything at all. Spell Sniper can be quite a handy feat to have as well. The problem is, at the moment, I'm pretty sure it's bugged, right? Here's what it does, or at least what it's supposed to do. First, you get to learn a cantrip for free. You are probably better off picking Eldritch Blast. But the most important benefit comes now. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking with a spell is reduced by 1, which is great of course because sources of critical range increases are very, very rare in this game. Notice that this only works for spells that have an attack roll, for example, Firebolt or Eldritch Blast, which by the way, by virtue of eventually firing multiple rays, can critical multiple times per turn. On the other hand, a spell like Fireball, it just deals damage, right? So you cannot critical with it because it doesn't roll to hit. Anyways, some of the Blaster caster builds like my Dragon Sorcerer are actually focused into increasing their spell damage to the max, including with spells that roll to hit and can critical. Sadly, it appears that even as far as the current patch, Spell Sniper is bugged when it comes to cantrips, right? So it doesn't do anything for them. Which means no tasty criticals with Eldritch Blast, but I'm sure eventually they'll get around to fixing it, at which point this spell feat will certainly become useful. Now we might as well cover the truly ultimate feat of them all. Tavern Brawler. Yes, that's right, this is the most OP feat in the game so far. Whenever you make an unarmed attack, or use an improvised weapon or also a thrown weapon, you'll get to add your strength modifier twice to both damage and attack rolls. Lastly, you even get to pick a +1 increase to either strength or constitution. To put it simply, the main reason I say this feat is OP is because no other feat does as much as it. Maybe Sharpshooter and Great Weapon Master, but even then, it's not quite the same. And this is also part of why monks are so powerful in BG3, right? You just punch everything to submission. First, it increases your 2-hit chance by a huge amount, something no other feat in the game does. And 2-hit chance increases in this game are very uncommon as well. Even as far as buffs, it's not like Pathfinder where you have 1,000 different buffs to increase attack rolls. In BG3 it's what? Mostly Bless, outside of other stuff that grants advantage, instead of true 2-hit chance increases. And the extra damage is just cherry on top, right? Don't forget, it's very easy to acquire 21 to 27 permanent strength in BG3. 21 from the Hill Giant Elixir and 27 the Cloud Giant one. When you have 27 strength, you have +8 to your strength modifier, which means all of your unarmed or thrown weapon attacks now have an extra 16 to both attack rolls and damage. To put it simply, you'll never miss, even on Tactician Mode. I suppose the only downside is that as far as thrown weapons and unarmed attacks, they don't really work with the Great Weapon Master feat, so in a way, it kinda makes up for that. But as I said, it's truly a winner. If you're playing unarmed or throwing, you want this as early as level 4. And by the way, this should also work with wild shape attacks from the Druid class. Anyways, while Tavern Brawler is amazing and a must-have for these types of builds, we still have one feat left to cover. Warcaster. Its most important benefit is granting your spellcasters advantage on concentration checks to maintain your spells, which of course highly increases the chances of you succeeding, especially if you roll low. And to me, this feat is better in the hands of a sorcerer, right? Because as I explained before when covering the Resilient feat, they are already proficient in Constitution. For the other casters, I'd rather Resilient because it also means more hit points. And the effects, well, they aren't the same, you can even combine them, right? Because one will grant you proficiency in concentration saves, the other, advantage in it instead. And honestly, that's pretty much it. And for a quick recap, if ranged, go with Sharpshooter. Melee with heavy weapons, so two-handed, Great Weapon Master. Unarmed or throwing build, Tavern Brawler. Spell damage, as soon as it gets fixed, Spell Sniper. For higher chances of making concentration checks and not losing your powerful spells, Warcaster or Resilient into Constitution unless you are a sorcerer. And the others are mostly there if you want, because like I said, you really want the ability improvement. At least one for A+2. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my best feats guide in BG3. And as always, if you think I missed a feat you find very useful, be sure to comment down below, right? Plus, if you found this guide useful, I'd really appreciate if you could like, subscribe, and even consider becoming a channel member. I'm really thankful for your support. Thank you for watching, see you next time, friends.